Daniel has another vision. This particular vision is kind of unique. He gets help from the messenger of God. In this lesson entitled Gabriel's Interpretation, we're going to find out what it is that Daniel saw and how did the angel interpret it. There are notes for this lesson. I'll leave a link in the description in the comment section below. Click the link, get your notes, your Sunday school books, and your Bibles for the UMI Precepts for Living / Cogic Legacy lesson is now in session. Join me. Let's go.
Teaching the word of God in the spirit of excellence. Join Elder Rodney Jones with our Sunday school lesson. Building and equipping the children of God. Grab your Bibles, grab your notes. Get your lessons and get ready. Now let's go.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Sunday School lesson as taught by Pastor Rodney Jones. I'm the pastor of the New Nation Anointed Ministries, Church of God in Christ. We're located 1700 West 87th Street, the city of Chicago, and our zip code is 60620. If this is your first time, please leave me a comment in the comment section below. I'd like to welcome you to Sunday School and to this particular channel. Thank you for subscribing. And for those of you who have not done so, take a moment if you can and will, hit the subscribe button, click that bell notification, and click all so YouTube will notify you. Bing! Brother Jones uploaded another lesson, and that rascal is on time. Come on, somebody. On today, we're dealing with Gabriel's interpretation. Gabriel's interpretation, we're in the 9th chapter of the book of Daniel. The 9th chapter of the book of Daniel. We're in verses 19 through 26. Our date for discussion is March the 19th, the year is 2023. Yes, this is the Cogic Legacy and the UMI Precepts for Living. Make sure you grab your notes for this lesson. Daniel has another vision. And in this vision, it's so unique until Daniel has to get some help. And it's unique how he gets this help. Really, Daniel didn't ask for the help. The help was given to him by God. In this vision, Daniel hears a voice while he's there. And he hears a voice telling Gabriel to interpret the dream to Daniel. Now, we're still in the book of Daniel. Don't be too concerned because he goes kind of really deep into this lesson. When you're looking at the book of Daniel, Revelation, and parts of Ezekiel, you've got to be very careful and that you don't go too deep into it. Now, there is a lot of meat on this bone, but I'm not going to chew it all off because if I do, I'm going to get too far out of the lesson, and I don't want to get too far out of the lesson. But let's begin to read this particular lesson. Here we go. And he said, Behold, I will make thee know what shall be in the last end of the indignation. For at the time appointed, the end shall be. We do know that there is an appointed time. And at this appointed time, he says, the end shall be. Now, here is Gabriel speaking, and he's told Daniel the purpose for him coming. The purpose for him coming, because Daniel, I'm going to show you, got kind of fearful. I'm going to move into this lesson. So part number one, Daniel has another vision, following the one that he had already had in the prior lesson. The first vision he saw, remember, he saw the 4 beasts in Daniel 7. In this vision, he saw a ram and a rough goat, Daniel 8th chapter. Daniel saw the ram destroying everything that it had come into contact with. That's Daniel the 8th chapter, verses 4. Then all of a sudden, a goat appeared in this vision, and this goat attacked the ram, breaking off his horns. Key word, breaking off his horns. Verses 7. And then Daniel watched a series of events that would take place in this vision. Number 2, while he was trying to understand the meaning of this vision, Gabriel appears in verses 15 through 16. As Gabriel was approaching him, he was terrified, and Daniel fell down. Gabriel told Daniel he must understand the events of this as he saw it in the vision. Now, I'm going to stop there temporarily because Daniel fell down to the ground. 2 things happened. One thing, he fainted. And it's interesting how we can say that we have visions and we speak with God, but we never faint. We never pass out at the presence of God. But Rodney is going to continue to move this lesson. He says, I will make thee know what shall be in the last end of the indignation. And to make to know means to cause to understand what's going to be or what's going to exist, what is going to fall out, what is going to come to pass at the last end or the later end. Prophetically speaking, it means in the future. Hence, the future tense of what's going to take place. He mentions this word indignation, which means fury. It means angry or God's displeasure with sin. Indignation means extreme anger. As Dr. O would say, pause for a minute to my TAC family. So number 1, Gabriel speaks to Daniel to help him with the understanding of the vision. The vision Daniel saw was about the ending events. And Gabriel says to Daniel, he will make Daniel to know what's going on because Daniel passed out when he saw this angel. The angel had to pick him up and tell him, hey, Doc, come to. I got to tell you because it is very important for you to know what this vision is that you saw. And I don't know about y'all, but if God gives me a dream, if God gives me a vision, God ought to be giving me some type of understanding or interpretation. Many of y'all, I would like to know by show of hands, and I can't see your hands, so say me, 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 me. How many of you all, the Lord has been given visions? Visions. You've been having visions or you've been having dreams. And while you're answering that, answer me this, or as Pastor Kevin McGee says, riddle me this. What is the difference between a vision and a dream? Those 2 things are on the floor because I have members here that tell me that they've had dreams and or visions. And I always tell them, write down every dream or vision, how you saw it. Don't add lib to it, exactly how you saw it. Not only that, but if you got some type of recording device, keep it by your bedside and talk it in it as well. And ultimately, it'll all come together. Let's continue to read what he says. So he says, now I will make you to know. I'm going to cause you to understand what is going to be in the last end of the indignation. Look at that word. That's the wrath, or that is the pouring out of the wrath of God. He says, and it is going to happen. Okay? Lay down. Yes, lay down. Look at what he says. The ram which thou sawest having 2 horns are the kings of the Media and Persia. Now, let me switch it to this one. So he first, because he saw these 2 particular animals in my vortex. Yeah, there it is. And I need you to come on back. He saw the ram right here. And then he saw what's called a rough goat. So the ram which thou sawest, having 2 horns, keep a focus on that word horn, having 2 horns, because these horns are called kings. And these are the kings of 2 places, Media, or the Medes, and Persia, or the Persians. And the rough goat, also called a he-goat. The rough goat is the king of Greece, or Greek. That one's going to be a unique one. And the great horn that is between his eyes, the rough goat's eyes, is the first king. This king, my brothers and sisters, is going to be Alexandra. Uh-oh. Y'all forgive me. I remember that part. the great. Let me get out of this because I'm already embarrassed. I'm getting ready to get emails. Daniel saw in his vision a ram with two horns. Okay? He explains to Daniel that these two horns are the two kings of Median or Mede and Persia. And the vision of the ram took place in verses number 3. Daniel saw a ram with two long horns standing beside the river. One of the horns was longer than the other. That would be the Persian king. It was longer even though it had grown later than the other one. The ram, it butted everything out of its way to the west, north, and the south. Those are the different directions hitting the northern, the western, and the southern kingdoms. Okay? Each direction would be a kingdom that it overpowered. And no one can stand against him or help his victims. Neither was there anyone that can deliver out of his hand this particular king. Verses 4. He did as he pleased, and he became very great. Verses 8. The ram, the Bible lets us know, spread its power to the north, the south, and the west in this particular vision that Daniel sees. While the ram was overthrowing these kingdoms, another kingdom came on the scene. Daniel says that he saw a he-goat coming from the west. That's Daniel 8 and 5. This goat was moving so fast that he didn't even touch the ground in his travels. Verses number 5. This he-goat had what's called a notable horn between his eyes. This notable horn, which was between the eyes of the goat, was the first king. Number 8, this he-goat had one horn, while the ram had two horns. Verses 5 through 6. The he-goat smote the ram and broke his two horns. We getting there. There was no power in the ram to stand. And the he-goat cast the ram to the ground and stomped him out. And the goat waxed very great. Verses number 8. He says, the ram which thou sawest having two horns are the kings of Media and Persia. The ram is what's called a male sheep, and horns were symbols of strength. So Daniel, in his vision, he saw this ram that was standing by the river. And Gabriel told him those are the two kings, the king of Media and the king of Persia. This later would be what's called the Medo-Persian Empire, because they would come together. One king would be King Darius, some says Darius, and the other king would be King Cyrus. The Persians were overthrown by the Medes under King Darius. So the king of Mede or Media would be Babylon. He would be Darius the Mede. That's Daniel 5, 31 through 6 and 1. The king of Persia would be King Cyrus. That's Isaiah, the 45th chapter. This rough goat, the word rough means either shabby or hairy, and he was a he-goat. I'm going to keep on going. He says, and the goat or the great horn that is between his eyes is the first king. Ladies and gentlemen, according to history, this king would be Alexander. You know, the king that I couldn't spell his name over there? Yes, that would be Alexander the Great. According to history, Alexander the Great is called a great conqueror. And when he died, his empire was divided between 4 generals. It is said because he apparently didn't have any posterity or children. So it went into 4 kingdoms. And he's the one that brought the Jews into the Greek literature also in life. He made an impact on the world. Alexander the Great. Let's look at verses, the next one. Yeah, verses number that one. Now that being broken right here, somebody died. right there. Now, remember when I made mention of the 4 kings, whereas 4 stood up, notice how they stood up for it and not against it. 4 stood up for it. 4 kingdoms shall stand up out of the nation, but not in his power. That his is Alexander. They came up, they arose, but they did not have the same type of power, strength, nor authority as this guy did. Okay, let me show you in my notes if you got it. So the he-goat waxed great, and he was very strong, which we believe is Alexander the Great. And when the goat was strong, the horn was broken. Verses number 8, when it says broken, that means he died. Who died? The king. And who was this king? We believe it was old man Alex. Alex the Great. For it came up 4 notable ones toward the 4 winds. That's verses number 8. The interpretation of some of this is in the previous verses. At the death of Alexander the Great, his 4 generals took up his empire. The scripture says, now that being broken, it speaks of the death of the king, this first king. History says 4 of his generals took empire. 4 stood up for it, means in place of it. And these 4 that stood up would become 4 kingdoms out of the nation. They would have power, but they didn't have the power that he had. This man was shrewd. This man was a conqueror, and those who came after him did not conquer the way he did. Now that being broken means now that he have come to an end. His kingdom, according to Daniel 11:4, is going to be divided. His kingdom will be plucked up and given to others. Daniel 11:4, talking about the same king. So this lesson jumps from this lesson to Daniel 11 to Daniel the 8th chapter. You'll find some information in Deuteronomy 28. So ladies and gentlemen, I've been doing a lot of researching. So 4 stood up, which means to arise instead. And lastly, it says 4 kingdoms shall stand out of this nation. The 4 generals that replaced the 1 king became 4 kingdoms in verses number 8. This dividing of his kingdom would not be for his posterity, which means his children. Daniel 11:4. So since apparently there was no children for him, it was divided among his generals, but not in his power, his strength, or his might. So the new kings would not be able to rule according to the dominion of Alexander the Great or this great king. That's Daniel 11:4. I won't read the scripture. I'll read Daniel 8:8. Therefore the he-goat waxed very great, and when he was strong, the great horn was broken. And for it came up 4 notable ones toward the 4 winds of the earth. That is the interpretation of it. Let's continue to move forward. All right, what we got? Come on, bouncing in. And in the latter time of their kingdom would have to be the 4 generals who became kings. Okay? Now, here's a word that's going to kind of mess us up because it said the transgressors. Some of our Bible translations or even commentators would say that these transgressors would be the kings. But I kind of differ with it. I believe it would be Judah. Or the children of Israel. Because they are in this trouble because they rebelled. To transgress also means to rebel. So it says, and in the latter time of their kingdom, these 4 kings, when the transgressors are come to the full. A king of fierce countenance and understanding, dark sentences shall stand up. Now, watch this. So at the death of this king, which we called Alexander the Great, the four kingdoms will come from him. He will be considered one of the greatest conquerors ever. Because of him, this Greek language is populated all over. He is the great horn that is between the eyes of the goat in verses 21. Now that he's dead, these four kings replaces him. And these four kings didn't have his power, verses number 22. In the latter time of their kingdom, a king of fierce countenance will stand up. So now we see another king on the scene. And this king would understand dark trickery and craftiness. This king will not be like any other king. He will understand what's called dark sentences. We're going to talk about what that is. This king shall obtain the kingdom by flattery. Daniel 11 and 21. I believe they called him Antiochus. Antiochus. Someone said that he ruled from 171.5 to 164 BC. I'm going to leave that right there. It says, in the later time of their kingdom, this is the kingdom of the four kings who replaced this first king. This lets us know that their kingdom will not always last. So that gives hope to Israel as well, that these kings that are coming on the scene that are treacherous are not going to last as treacherous kings. He's getting to somewhere. Now he says, when the transgressors, the word transgressor means to rebel, to transgress, to revolt. And I believe it was the children of Israel, because they are in trouble because they rebelled against God, which means they have got to maximize, or their sentence has got to be fully passed out or fully complete before all of this ending will take place. This is what I believe is going on. I don't think that this is really speaking. Let me ask you, what do you think? Who do you think the transgressors are in this lesson? Is it the kings or is it Israel? I welcome all of your answers. The class is now open. He says, now a fierce king, a king of fierce countenance and understanding dark sentences shall stand. And the word fierce means to be mighty. It means to be strong. A countenance is your face, which also includes your presence. Either he's going to have a strong and a mighty presence and or a strong and a mighty face. I believe it would be his presence. It says understanding, which would mean to be cunning. Dark sayings are a trick. He would be operating and he would be using trickery, is what he's saying. Now remember this, the Lord warned them. Let me talk to you. The Lord warned them not to forsake him or they would be punished. Deuteronomy 28:15. He warned them that they would be cursed in the city and in the field. Deuteronomy 28:16. Here's my problem, my brothers and sisters. Let me get a camera that's kind of a little bit on the close side. Let me talk to you. Here's my problem. We say that we're the ones that he says, I'm going to make you the head and not the tail and all of that. And God told that to the children of Israel. But he told them, he says, now, if you don't abide by my laws, I'm going to make you the tail and not the head. How come we never put that on the floor? He says, I'm not going to let these diseases come on you. You're going to be blessed in the field and blessed in the city. He said, but if you turn your back on me and rebel against me, you're going to be cursed in the city and cursed in the field, and you're going to have all of these sicknesses and diseases on it. So what he told Israel was conditional. So Israel already knows what's going on. He promised to bring them before another king that they won't even know, nor your fathers. Deuteronomy 28:36. Point number 4 is God said he would bring a nation that they would not even know their language. Deuteronomy 28:49. When that Greek king came, they didn't know his language. He had to teach them and force them to know that language. This nation, God said, would be a nation of fierce countenance that will come against his own people. That's Deuteronomy 28 and 50. And this king will not spare the young or the old. He will have a fierce countenance, and he will work through deceit. Now, in the fierce countenance, you will find that in Deuteronomy 28 as well. So what I'm saying is God already warned them. So they were the ones who transgressed against God. He says in Daniel 11 and 23 that this king would be deceitful. He will work deceitfully. He will be cunning or understanding in tricks or dark sayings or deception. He uses flattery to obtain this kingdom, Daniel 11 and 21, because they didn't give him the kingdom. He used trickery, deception, dark sayings, or dark sentences in order to obtain it, is what he said took place. Let's keep on going. Fly away. Come back. Oh, fly away. And his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. What? See? Right there. This guy who used trickery, he's going to have power. But his power is not going to be like the others, but not by his own power. And he shall destroy. Now look at that word, wonderfully. He shall destroy wonderfully and shall prosper. Now, ladies and gentlemen, look how this word is spelled, practice. How many of y'all King James Bible spells that word practice like that? And practice and shall destroy the mighty. That word destroy keeps coming up. So it says, so the power of this king shall be mighty, but not from his own power. This king shall corrupt and destroy in an astonishing manner. That's the word wonderfully. And this is going to take place at the ending of these four kings. This lets us know that these kingdoms will not reign forever. Their kingdoms will come to an end in different periods. Now he said that he shall come up and shall become strong with a small people. This king that has risen up is going to have a small group of individuals, but he's going to have a different type of power, not like their power. That's Daniel 11:23. He's going to rule with deception. It says, and this power shall be mighty, but not by his own. The word power means strength. It means might. And the word mighty means to make strong. So this king shall be powerful, but not through his own power. This king will use deceitfulness to gain his power. Daniel 11 and 23. He will be successful because of a league that he made with the others. That's Daniel 11 and 23 as well. But he's going to make this league through trickery and deceit. It says he shall destroy wonderfully. And the word destroy means to spoil or to ruin. Wonderfully means to be extraordinary, or in a manner to excite wonder or surprise. This king will not be like the other kings. He has a small group of people, Daniel 11 and 23. He will cause to ruin the people in such a way that people will be astonished. Wonderfully. His power will be more in his craftiness and not in brutal force. Daniel 11 chapter. But he's going to prosper. Look at the word. He's going to prosper. Only that word prosper means swiftly. Can I spell? That word prosper means to make progress. Yes. Uh-oh. Oh, my Lord. Did I spell that right? To prosper, to advance, to make progress, to succeed, and to be profitable. Not profitable as money, but it means he is going to advance in what he's doing. He's going to make progress at destroying and ruining and bringing others to a ruin. And then it says he's going to what's the word? And practice, which means to do, to work or make or even to produce. So he shall be known for executing his plans or performing his plans. The word practice here means to make, to do, or produce. So whatever he plans to do, he will do, is what he says. And then lastly, he says, and he shall destroy the mighty and the holy people. The word destroy means to spoil, to ruin, to batter, or to waste. The holy people, which would be the sacred people, the set apart people, the saints. That's probably Israel or Judah or the Judeans or the people of God. Now, we're getting into some very interesting fly. And through his policy, ladies and gentlemen, that is not an insurance policy. Also, he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart. And by peace shall destroy many. By peace. He shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hand. Or you mess with the wrong guy. Here we go. So this king will be a master of deception and trickery. He will be so arrogant until he will make himself big in his own mind or his own heart. He will cause things to happen by his shrewdness or his trickery or his deception. He will be bold enough to stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without the hands of man. Says, and through or on the account of this word policy means his intelligence. By implication, his success. He shall cause craft. The word craft means trickery. Craft means fraud. And craft means guile or deceit. The word is not trickery, it's treachery. Through his intelligence or policy, also he shall cause craft or deceit to prosper, to advance, to make progress, or to succeed in his hand. Sometimes the word hand means his power. Sometimes the word hand means his dominion or his authority. So through his shrewdness, he will cause deceit to succeed by his influence. And he shall magnify himself in his heart. Magnify means to grow, to become great or important, or even to promote. He's going to promote himself in his own heart, in his inner man, and in his mind. And by peace, he's going to destroy many, because the word peace means security. He's going to corrupt or cause ruin many. So this will be a sense of false security. They will be at ease when he makes his move. The Bible speaks about when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction shall come upon them. He's going to also stand up against the prince of princes. The prince of princes is the ruler. It is the leader. It is the captain. It is the chief. And I believe this prince has to be Jesus himself, because he is the prince of princes. He's the of princes. He's the Lord of lords. He is King of kings. He's the great I am that I am. But he's going to be crushed in pieces without hands, or without human hands. Now, I'm told that is referring to Antiochus, his ultimate death by a disease in somewhere between 164 BC. Am I impressing y'all like I knew this? I didn't grow up with him. I researched it. I grew up with Moses. Come on, somebody. Crush down and fall. There you go. And the vision of the evening and the morning which was told is true. Wherefore shut thou up the vision, for it shall be many days. Now, to shut up the vision means to keep it a secret, because it's a ways off. He mentions this vision right here of the evening, and this vision of the morning. And we're going to talk about that particular one right there. So it's going to be kind of a little bit on the long side. So, number one, the goat became very powerful in verses number 8. And at the height of the goat's power, his large horn was broken off in verses number 8. From this goat and his horn, 4 horns or 4 kings came forth. From one of the horns, a small horn came forth, verses number 8. This horn extended toward the south, the east, and the land of Israel or Jerusalem, verses number 9. It waxed great even to the host of heaven. It went all the way up to war against heaven in verses 10. And he magnified himself to the prince of hosts, verse 11. Point number 2 is the daily sacrifices was taken away, and the place of his sanctuary was cast down, talking about God or the Prince of Hope or those in heaven, verses number 11. Daniel heard 2 saints talking in his vision in verses number 13. And there was a question that came up, how long shall this vision be concerning this daily sacrifices? Because the daily sacrifices had ended because of the transgression and because of what was going on. The answer didn't go to those who was asking. The answer was given to Daniel, and the answer was, it's going to take place for 2,300 evenings and mornings, verses number 14. So Gabriel revealed to Daniel that these evening and morning visions that he saw was true. He says to shut up the vision, for it shall be for many days. So Gabriel told him to shut this vision, cause this vision to be a secret and keep it, because it was going to happen, but it was not going to happen for a while. That's it. I pray that you were not confused. This is a very deep but interesting lesson, a very deep but interesting vision. Just keep in place and in mind that he speaks about the different animals. He speaks about the ram, he speaks about the goat, and he speaks about the horns. Remember, replace the word horns for kings. And when he gives these directions, the north, the south, the east, and the west, those are the different directions where the kingdoms would be. One would be Babylon, would be here. One would be the Assyrians. One would be Egypt. Those are the directions that he saw, and those where those countries were. And those are the kingdoms where they are located. And remember, when these 4 kings rose up, or these 4 rose up, those 4 would be the 4 kings that replaced that one king who was a great king. And then these other kings were met by another king. This king was so powerful, but he used deception and trickery to gain his influence. But he messed up against the wrong person. He came up against a prince of princes, and therefore he got crushed. Very interesting. Listen, I'm getting ready to start a Facebook channel. It's going to be called, the Lord said the same, it's going to be called the Sunday School Teachers Lounge. And you will be able to post your questions towards one another on there. It's the same as when we were in school, some are still in school, when the teachers came together in the lounge. They discussed their lesson plans, the lessons, how do you deal with certain students, whatever the case may be. We've already had some sessions on Zoom. If you want to be a part of it, send me an email, Rodney Jones, Sunday School at gmail.com. Rodney Jones, Sunday School at gmail.com. I think that's it. The Lord said the same. I'll see you all Sunday morning. I was not able to go live last week, and I did inform y'all because my wife and I was on the couples retreat, and I just wasn't going live. I gave that time to my wife. We're about to hit 40 years, August 20 this year. All right? Remember my motto, teaching the Word of God in the Spirit of excellence. And the model of the Sunday School is a child saved, is a soul saved, plus a life. Amen.